think that that's something that we as commentators on the left, and we just as everyday people who want the left to succeed, if we want to stop losing people. Every other developed country affords their citizens direct stimulus during the coronavirus. Every other developed country affords their citizens a universal healthcare system and a social safety net that far exceeds. You really get an insight into her thought process on air, live on air, as she's kind of trying to break down like how to respond to this and how to, properly defend AOC or whatever she feels like she needs to do. But it's really maddening because, again, it's just so obvious what the answer is and what the reality is. And watching someone tap dance around that in order to kind of play this game with their, not even their viewers, but Sam Cedars' viewers, it's who's actually keeping it real, because unlike Emma Vigeland,
she did go on to talk about the underlying contributions of United States foreign policy that destabilized South America, which led to the exact conditions that we're seeing now. So that's a holistic perspective that you see in 40 people currently in power in the federal government, and I'm being generous there. So what we're talking about, though, is the limitations of electoral politics and being a part of the Democratic Party.
Right.
Okay. Again, why is there any more limitations on AOC? She was an elected member of the fucking Democratic Party 2 years ago, also when she was calling out Trump and being extremely vociferous and bringing attention to the issue. Why is there all of a sudden now these fake limits of what is possible and all these boundaries?
She just sit outside of Nancy Pelosi's fucking office.
Yeah, exactly. Like, she's in the same exact position she was today, and she's got reelected now, so it's not like she has that hanging over her head, like, oh shit, I don't want to overstep my line and get fucked in my reelection. No, she got overwhelmingly reelected. So, literally, same position she was in 2 years ago. The only thing that's changed is who in charge, and now it's a blue guy instead of a red guy. This is not an orange guy, culture of victimhood, or asking the government to come in and give us everything. It's basically the bare fucking essentials that you expect from a taxpayer system.
And these fuckers here.
You have, this is the Vanguard, Zach and Gavin, at Gavin CMB on Twitter, that's his handle. Dunking on Joe Rogan and Dan Crenshaw, dunking on Emma Vigeland, dunking on AOC, dunking on Ryan Grimm and David Dole.
Being like, there's value in stuff.
Just lately, just kind of kicking ass, taking names for.
Get the fuck away from me. Like this dude, I'll wait, I'll fix it, but anyway.
Two are almost indistinguishable from each other. People are always trying to talk about populism on the right and the left, and I say, look, here's what populism is. It's telling you what you feel, it's mirroring your feelings back to you, telling you what you want to hear as opposed to the truth. But I think that's a decent definition.
This is Dan Crenshaw talking.
I like it. I don't like people embracing it.
By the way, people that have to resort to completely disingenuous definitions of populism like that, the reason why they have to do that is because the policies that they support and advocate for, like the Afghanistan war, have a 30% approval rating. So rather than say, I'm not a populist, that's not at all representative of the belief.
We're going to endorse her? Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, that's the kind of bullshit that's the kind of stuff that initially started to frustrate me, but I was like, Zach, you're being over dramatic. You're getting too emotional about these things. You're a pragmatist. And now I'm like, fuck this. My nose was right, and I was correct, and I feel ashamed that I didn't entrust my instincts more sooner, because I kept trying to be
wanted to believe.
I wanted to believe, but I also wanted to believe that I was going to call out this bullshit as soon as I noticed it, and I have to hold myself accountable and be like, guys, I thought that she was going to turn around. I was like, maybe she's like figuring something out. No, she's not going to turn it around.
It was
the real celebrity.
Yeah, and the real.
She is a celebrity. She was on Vogue. She is.
AOC, they're all talking about AOC.
And, she set records as, along Latina and,
least effective legislator. So if you can't get anything done legislatively, when is the light switch going to turn on your head that maybe you can use your 12 million fucking Twitter followers to do something productive? I mean, that's what I would have figured out by now.
Especially given what she experiences from the right wing and people.
Good point, Gavin.
Dumb left as well.
You're on the dumb left, motherfucker.
The dumb left, the shit libs.
Okay.
No, that's fine. We'll be the dumb left, but they're the fucking shit libs. They're basically right-wing, fascist conservatives.
I think a broader problem is, I like some of the vocabulary she uses, but
apparently people look down when they know they're fucking bullshit, and that's what they're taken away from today.
American imperialism, right? But when you tie that to an outcome, like children being warehoused at the border and not
It looks like she's looking at her notes.
Then I worry that it serves to naturalize
There could be something.
things. Like, oh, well, this is just American imperialism. Well, that's a pretty... How are we going to undo American imperialism?
Well, you know what? A lot of people
Joe
are
Biden-
sick of
How are we going to undo American imperialism? Stop financing the wars?
Right.
That's because
Pull the purse strings?
If he voted and said...
Be opposed, just be against it, really. I think that's the start. Be against mass murder of foreigners overseas.
One more time. Just one more time for me. Dude, this because this is the same man. This is the same fucking man who's like, I remember one of the last episodes of Joe Rogan's podcast I listened to was with Eddie Wong. Eddie Wong is a writer I really like. Maybe he's problematic and I don't know about it, but
Just Zach.
he wrote a couple books I really like.
ZAC.
He's on there and he's like, you know, Joe, like I'll come on your show. We don't agree with each other on everything. And Joe's like, what don't we agree on? And he's like, oh, you told me I was crazy for supporting UBI because Eddie Wong was holding it down for UBI before Andrew worked. He's like, oh, you convinced me on that. I'm totally for UBI. And now he's giving this like fucking completely bullshit. Yeah, I guess if you give everybody $100,000. Yeah, no, that's what we do for fucking corporations. Except it's not $100,000. It's trillions of dollars. You fucking idiot. And it's so bad faith that you have all these stupid fuckers on your podcast so that you can continue to grift, so that you can move to Texas and you want to pay less federal fucking taxes on your $100 million. It's probably more like $200 million from Spotify.
This is AOC donated to this progressive Blue Dog primary opponent. So AOC is a big disappointment. She's the hope, right? She's the great Latina hope for America, but apparently she's a careerist and she's now in bed with, she's a congressperson, she's a politician. She was going to be the one, a great one-termer, but, she's not protesting Pelosi, Mama Bear no more. She's not standing up against him, not using the Twitter followers, not using her celebrity to put the pressure on. It almost seems like she doesn't really know what she's doing. She has ideas. You got to, believe in the right ideas, but then you also got to wield power in Congress in such a way that you get your, the things that you believe passed. And so she is the least effective, like out of 435 representatives, AOC is the least effective congresswoman, so she's not getting anything done. She's not getting anything passed. None of her bills are she's not. So, yeah.
What's frustrating about this to me is that, like you say here in your tweet, you received 41.4% of the vote against the Blue Dog incumbent who's just received AOC's cash. That's the second best that anyone did after Jessica Cisneros among. And in fact, not only is she leaving you out to dry by not endorsing you, but she's literally donating to the corporate.
These seats don't belong to the parties; they belong to the people. And that is what bothers me about, and kind of like, what are we keeping the seats for? What's the end game? Like, don't you want to move the?
Well, I think the end game might be to stay in Congress for as long as possible and become the Speaker of the House.
Yeah. And that's actually my last question for you, Eva Putsova, is that some people watching this might, love what they've heard from you, but, a lot of people also feel like we've gone through this experiment a few times and we've elected progressives to Congress that have a similar platform and they feel betrayed and
this is
let
at
down.
Eva
Putsova. Loyal to their, their colleagues and
the
their
progressives who
friends.
AOC fucked over. AOC fucking over progressives
so I was
now.
just wondering if you could, offer any sort of a strategical contrast that you would try to uphold were you to get elected to what we've seen demonstrated from folks like AOC and the lack of resistance that they've offered.
Right, and this is very difficult to, and I completely understand when people say, well, I'm never going to donate to any Democrat because I've heard that and I completely understand that sentiment. At the same time, like if I run and decide to run as a Democrat, well, I still want people's support, and I don't know what, one can say to make people comfortable that, if elected, I'm not going to turn into just another, piece of the machine that, AOC very early on said she's not going to contribute to the CCC with her dues, and I think that's great, and I think she hasn't contributed, but then she kind of like bypasses that idea and just contributes to her.
Also, this is the same motherfucker that's like, oh yeah, I think we should suffer. Are you suffering with all that fucking money? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you not see how fucking hypocritical and just broken all of this shit is?
It's crazy that he's talking about $100,000 when his fucking salary is $174,000 of taxpayer money that he's getting to represent opinions that are not even fucking popular within his own constituency, which again is why he has to smear the even very concept of populism. It's insane.
Fuck you, Dan Crenshaw.
Sustainable policy, of course not. Of course not. And the kind of amounts to the I think drastic lurches and welfare policy or infrastructure spending and all of these things that we're
We've
seeing.
completely devastated both of those projects in this country, by the way. There's no welfare or infrastructure.
That's not true. That's not true. And we have to get back to truth, and we have to get away from this victimhood mentality where we actually elevate this idea of being helpless. See, that's what's changed. That's what's changed.
Can you believe this is literally what Republicans are trying to sell people? Like, you just don't accept any help from the government. Just be powerless and pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Like, seriously, in 2021, they're still going with pull yourself up by the bootstraps in the middle of a fucking pandemic and an economic depression. Like, they seriously think that shit's going to be popular, which, again, is why they have to smear the concept of populism, because they're the opposite of populist. They represent corporations, not fucking people.
Let's make a good point. Let's end this off on a good point.
Yeah, and again, like, to whatever, if you agree that we need a safety net, then what is the value of a net that fucking 60 million people fall through? Like, that's not a very good fucking net. Like, would you not agree that...
that is a terrible net. That's almost like not even, that's like not, what would be the difference if the net wasn't there?
That's not a fucking safety net.
Yeah. This is...
60 million. 60 million.
Yeah, it's fucking disgusting. It makes my blood boil. Gavin sent me the link. I listened to I got about as far as when he's talking about how, like, suffering is good and, like, blah, 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 and I was like, I mentally was just gone for most of the clip that played on my phone.
And again, how can you support a candidacy of someone who was proposing to expand the social safety net and then come on and nod along? People on the right consider him the future or the new face of the new right, If that's the state of the right wing, then...
It's citrus season.
And I guess good for the Democrats, since I was actually wanting to see the most popular Rolling Stone cancels Useful Idiots, co-hosted by Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper. This is the most popular video that they've ever put out there. 26,000 views. Holy shit! Have they arrived? Has the Vanguard arrived? Are they making like fucking bank? How many views do you gotta get to make like $100? Like 1,000 views or something? Like that, like $100 per 1,000 views? 26? Are they making any money? What is? I want to know the business model. Frankly, I like starving artists who are making nothing and they just look like they're on the edges of society, barely. Jimmy Dore seems to be able to kind of thread that needle. I like one last thing that I'll mention because I was doing these Vanguard clips is when you platform, the people that you don't like, but it's also, let's see. Oh, shit. I'm losing it.
Next thing, just to follow up with a little bit more media censorship, this is one of those weirder forms of media censorship, and I'm surprised that this hasn't gotten more coverage from BreadTube, considering the...
So Gavin CMB is wearing a beret, like a red beret. He's got a Guy Fawkes mask in the background. That's nice. And that alligator, he's got that alligator flag right behind him.
Magnitude of the show. Obviously, people are probably aware that Useful Idiots on Rolling Stone has moved, and it's now going to Substack, right? Katie Halper and Matt Taibbi were, hosts of. It was an extremely popular show on Rolling Stone. I mean, average their videos, you can look, they'll get anywhere from like 180,000 views to like 250.
So what I was trying to say was before with the business model. So you have, when you take the clips of these, folks from YouTube or wherever you get the clips from, if it comes from like some MSNBC, Fox News motherfuckers, you know that, you might get a fucking hit on your goddamn thing. And then there's some people out there that's like, oh, their stuff isn't copyrighted, even if they were wealthy enough to do it. They're just righteous enough motherfuckers that they're like, you know what? I want people to remix my stuff. I want the ideas to get, in the great pool of ideas, the best ideas should prevail. And the only way we're going to know that is if we're just saying, okay, here are all the ideas. What are the best ones? So that means you want to change hearts and minds. It's not about the money. It's not about the career. It's about changing hearts and minds. It's actually about, you know, I'm sure there's vanity and ego and whatnot, but yeah, I feel like if you're genuine, you genuinely give a shit.
1,000 views.
That
It's also available
distinguishes
on,
you.
you know, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. That they would be leaving and going to the Substack model, similarly to how.
So they're pretty much joking around at this point, but
Yeah, so essentially, the kind of for people who didn't follow the show or aren't aware of the situation, essentially the joke is
26,000 views.
and a joke which is rooted in
They
reality.
make $100 off that.
They're basically confirming the Rolling Stone
I
party.
wonder what would they spend $100 on?
It's because of their
And they look like starving artists.
Having people on the show like
I don't even know if they're monetized.
you know, taking into account Katie Halper's personal show and her coverage, and you know, obviously her Twitter personality.
A lot of good points, Zach. It's not entertaining enough for now.